Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. As you may know, my presentation is about money laundering trends. However, we decided to focus only on one area, which is the most controversial area in money laundering. We know that the money laundering trends are in general related to digital assets, virtual assets, such as cryptos, stable coins, NFTs. And we can see that we have a special focus on the real estate, notaries, lawyers, public accountants. Those we call them designated non-financial business and professions. We can see a lot of highlights on environmental crimes, proliferation, weapon of mass destruction. And I can see that all these areas are interconnected. They are related. And one of the most difficult typologies are the TBML. And I will go through why TBML is very important and why we are focusing on TBML for today. The scope of TBML is huge. Now, if we compare TBML to any other transaction, we can see that it's very complex. We have a lot of components. For example, for the letter of credit, or if you call it documentary credit, we have the messages, the empty 700s. We have 700, 701, 707, etc. For the documentation, the trade finance documentation, we have bill of lading, commercial invoices, packing list, certificate of origin, and the list goes. We have vessels, which are also related to the trade finance deals, and we may have multiple vessels if we have like transshipments. It's worthy. Usually we are talking about international trades. The international trade transactions are not like a $1,000 or a couple of $100. They are big transactions. So they are very attractive to financial criminals and wrongdoers. It's ambiguous. I can see compliance officers all the time complaining about trade-based money laundering. And I can see also there's a huge pressure from the governments on the financial institutions and other obliged entities which can be involved in the trade finance. So there is ambiguity, how to monitor different components at the same time. And there are a lot of other details. Financial crimes are interconnected, as I mentioned. TBML, sanctions, fraud, corruption, terrorism, weapon of mass destruction, tax evasion. Unfortunately, I don't have time to explain how they are interconnected, but I will be highlighting the relationship, like in a very simple words, between TBML and environmental crimes, proliferation, financing. Those usually are using trade finance deals to export and import those goods. We are talking about illegal wildlife trafficking. We are talking about the goods that can be used in terrorism or weapon of mass destruction and any other terrorist acts. We can see that international bodies are, focusing on trade-based money laundering. We have seen too many documents issued by FATF, and also we see that Wolfsberg has a very good document, detailed document about the trade-based money laundering. We can see the major national regulators such as FinCEN, Hong Kong Monetary Authority, Monetary Authority of Singapore. We also see the UK FCA are focusing on trade-based money laundering. And by the way, they issued a Dear CEO letter to blame on financial institutions and other involved obliged entities for not following the proper procedures to do trade-based money laundering monitoring. I want to talk about trade-based money laundering in Pakistan now. We know that State Bank of Pakistan has issued a regulatory framework for trades-based money laundering in October 2019. And this is as a reform, a legal reform. We can see, if we look at those regulations, we can see, for example, circular number 4, if I'm not mistaken, it's talking about the price verification and tracking. And this is, by the way, the most difficult thing. Most of the financial institutions are struggling to verify the prices. How would you verify a price? Now, for example, I will take one simple example, your car. You know how many parts on average a car can have? Not less than 30,000 parts. And each car has a brand. And each car has a model year. So the prices will be, varying from one car to another. You can imagine. This is one item. So there is no comprehensive list that has all these details and prices and to be updated and accurate. So I will be talking about the pricing in a later slide. We heard that there was a TBML case in Pakistan a few months ago, I think in July, if I'm not mistaken. It involves financial fraud between China and Pakistan, and there was some sort of exchanges involved, and it was investigated by the Customs Intelligence and Investigation of Karachi. So we can see that there are enforcements. Pakistan is a vital part of global economy, of course. It's a big country. We have I think more than 230 million population. The GDP is 350 billion US dollars. And the export and imports, which are mainly international trade, is 100 billion US dollars. There's 28 for exports, 72 for imports. So it's a huge economy. You can imagine you have a 100 billion worth of international trade. This needs to be controlled. Pakistan was grey-listed by FATF, like many other countries, including my country. And simply, we don't want to go back there. We need to pay attention to those kind of transactions, especially for the trade-based money laundering. It involves a lot of other crimes, like terrorism, weapon of mass destruction, corruption, tax evasion, and these kind of crimes. Yes. I want to highlight the trade finance transaction types that can be monitored. We have the letter of credit. Some other people, they call it documentary credit, which is usually based on the MT700s. And it is initiated by the importer before the delivery or the shipment of the goods. The other one is the bills for collection, which is usually initiated by the exporter after delivering the goods. And usually we use the 400 series messages. The standby letter of credit, it's very similar to the letter of credit. However, the differences are it uses the 760, which is usually also used for letter of guarantee. And this is actually not for use. It is just to protect your rights as an importer and exporter, and can be initiated by both of them. All these transactions need to be monitored. We also have the open account trade, but usually banks, they don't have access to the documentation and the transactions between the buyer and seller. Only they have the settlement payments, so it will be very limited for the bank to do a proper monitoring other than the normal AML and sanction screening monitoring. Okay, now to have a proper trade finance based money laundering program, the monitoring program, in my opinion, and after extensive investigation for many years, you know, we are one of the most recognized global financial crime solution providers, and we are looking at the financial crime from a different angle, and we are looking at the financial crime as a big picture. We want to connect all the puzzle parts together. So we saw that we need to cover the trade-based money laundering. Our customers, they have a tremendous amount of pain to do this kind of monitoring. So we did an extensive investigations. We used all kind of possible technology to be able to do the proper monitoring. Now, I will not be talking about the product, but I want you to think about this from the big picture. What are the important processes that need to be covered to be able to protect your financial institution from being used by the criminals through the trade-based money laundering? The first thing you need to have is you need to have the full and comprehensive scene of the trade finance deal. For example, you will have the messages, you will have the documents, you have the vessels. You need to connect them all together. You can't do a proper monitoring by having scattered different components here and there, and they are in silos. They are interconnected, and you will find that the sanction screening information, very relevant to the trade-based money laundering scenarios, the transaction monitoring, and vice versa. The vessel information, it's very important. Whenever you're receiving a notification coming from the vessel tracking, it will be also used in screening and money laundering. The next one is how you will be getting the vessel information, how you will be identifying the related vessel, how you will be able to screen all the documents. Usually you will be receiving those documents maybe in soft copy or hard copy in a PDF file, for example. So how would you do that in an accurate way? So it's very important to have a document digitization where you ingest all these related documents, which are usually unstructured, and they contain a very important information. So you will be having this document digitization. You will be extracting those necessary data for screening, for money laundering, monitoring. And it's very important to have an AI and NLP powered digitization because the accuracy level matters. Okay, now the other part, the vessel tracking. You can do a proper TBML monitoring without you tracking the vessels, screening the vessels, monitoring those vessels. So you can do the vessel tracking sometimes, you know, you do some verifications manually, but this would be hectic, especially if you have a large volume of trade finance transactions. And also, as I mentioned before, you can't link it to the other components. So here, the integration is very important. You will be receiving the vessel basic information. Usually you will be receiving the vessel name in the bill of lading. So you will be extracting this vessel name by the document digitization. and you will retrieve all the necessary information from the vessel tracking services. You will have the vessel IMO number, which is the unique number, the unique identification of the vessel. And also you will be having the flag, the nationality, the ultimate beneficial owners structure, everything necessary to be able to do a proper screening. You will be also receiving notifications whenever the vessel is visiting any port or city. You will know that it's visiting this port, this city, and you need to screen those vessels and, ports and cities, and we'll be talking about it. And sometimes you will have those dark activity turning the transponders off, and these are usually risk indicators. Okay, for the screening, this is very important. You can easily automate the screening of the MT700 message, for example, but how about the documents? How about the vessel information? And it's very important to mention that it's a prolonged transaction. Wire transfers, usually they take like minutes, hours, days. For trade-based, trade finance transactions, usually they are prolonged transactions that may take up to 3 months. So you need to have a continuous screening, because if you are screening the messages, the documents, the vessels, day one, how about after 10 days, 20 days? What if one of the parties is being listed by one of the list providers or the sanction regimes? This is very dangerous, because you can't make the funds available to the listed entities at the end of the day. You will be settling the payment maybe after 3 months of the trade finance deal initiation. So this is very important to have it, to have a continuous screening. How would you automate that? And if you will tell me, okay, I will be scheduling the screening process, but you know that if you are doing that, you will be screening the same entities all the time, and you will have the same hits all the time, which means a tremendous amount of false positives, and the false negative will be hidden in the middle, right? You will lose it. I learned one thing after many years in compliance and investigation: devil is in the details. So we need to pay attention to that. Okay, and we have a very important list sets that we need to screen against. For example, we have the sanction list, right? We have, it contains the listed entities such as corporates, individuals, and also vessels. So we're done with that. It's okay. So how about the next step? Cities and ports. You need to have the cities and ports list and to screen the visited ports and cities by the vessel and the bill of the port of lading, for example, and the message against those lists. And there is also an important element, which is the dual use goods. These are usually the goods that can be used for civil use, like purposes, and it also can be used for nuclear reactors, for example, and the weapon of mass destruction, and for terrorism. Aluminum alloy, for example. This is we can use it in our house windows, and we can use it for other unpeaceful purposes. I will give you one clue. What we are doing is we will be only screening against the Delta file. So whenever we have a list update, we will bring the Delta file, and we will be screening against this Delta file. So we will be avoiding those false positives, the high rate of false positives. Trade-based money laundering monitoring. You love this topic, right? Compliance officers? How hard is that? Okay, we have a lot of red flags and risk indicators mandated by the international bodies and national regulators. Some of those suspicious activities you can detect using static rules, but some other behaviors that can't be detected unless you have AI-driven models. One example, or I will be listing all the important, let's say, categories of topologies. We have carousel transactions, we have over-under pricing, we have double invoicing, inconsistency with the customer profile, which is unusual transactions. Unusual transshipments, also a risk indicator. I will be focusing on over-under pricing. This is the most controversial issue in the TBML. How would you do the monitoring? How would you tell if this specific good is not overpriced or underpriced for money laundering purposes? So we thought about it, to be honest, and we did a huge investigation. How would we do that? We looked at the list providers at the market, and honestly, the price lists are inaccurate, insufficient, and this will affect our business, and we will be having a lot of false positives, and we will be missing a lot of false negatives, right? So we developed AI models to be able to detect those unusual prices. There are a lot of details. Unfortunately, I can't talk about them now because we are limited in time. Now, all these detections, alerts, notifications coming from the screening process, from the money laundering monitoring, from vessel tracking, from document digitization, they need to be bundled. They need to be together, grouped together, so you will have like 360 view over the transaction, so you can be in a better position for investigation as an investigator. Compliance officers are investigators. You will also need to do the regulatory reporting. And it is very impressive that Pakistan has joined this TBML platform for regulatory reporting, which was mentioned by Lubna. And I would love to talk about this topic. This is my presentation. I wish I had more time to talk about it. It's a very huge topic. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for having us in beloved Pakistan. Thank you.